when we read verse 4, we see that all people, in the Greek, which is pantos anthropous, that pantos anthropous has a counterpart, and that all men there has an all men, which we find back in chapter 2, verse 1. So all people actually in the ESV. So you'll have that there in verse 1. First of all, I urge that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgivings be made for all people.
Yeah.
And then what happens in verse 2 is we get a breakdown of what he means by all people. We get kings and all who are in high positions, that we may lead a peaceful, quiet, and godly life. So you get subdivisions of types of people. So that's what's being meant by all people. Now, I'm pretty sure that Paul wasn't asking the Ephesians to do something which was beyond their ability to do, which was to literally pray for every single person who has ever lived and who will ever live, because he'd have been giving them something there's no way they could have done. So what he's saying here is basically, look, pray for all people, meaning all types of people, even those in power and authority. Remembering that at this time you have so many corrupt leaders all the way across the ancient world. And of course, Paul ends up being martyred under Nero. So these are sort of despotic leaders. And he's saying, actually, pray for them. Pray for these rulers, for these kings, that we might lead a peaceful and quiet life, for types of men. So when we hear again, who desires all people to be saved, that all people isn't going to have changed its meaning, is it? It's going to mean the same thing as it did in verse 1, which is all types of people, who desires all types of people, including kings, including rulers, to be saved. And we know that in Revelation we're going to see people of every creed and color, of every position in life, in that great cloud of witnesses. So this is what we're talking about, is all types of people. Paul isn't asking them to pray for every single human being who will ever live. And equally then, verse 4 cannot be talking about every single person who will ever live. So that's what we've got to do, is we've got to try and see context. And then we've got to remember that we bring our own lenses to the text, don't we?
That's helpful to remember, definitely.
We bring our own lenses. We bring our own Western understanding. And when we read all people, we instinctively think all as in every single person who has ever lived.
Yeah, it's a great insight.
We can't smash that interpretation into the text. We've got to back off, and we've got to say, well, what did the author mean by that? Is this an all of a particular subset? What is the all he's meaning? So those are good things to do. So in fact, this verse doesn't actually provide a knockdown refutation of limited atonement. Neither does it provide support for universalism. No. But instead, it's simply saying God desires people of all station to be saved and to come to a knowledge of truth.